Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is September 3rd, 2024. You're listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And today we are continuing our two-part discussion about the top 50. Today, it's going to be the mobile apps everyone is using. And then yesterday we were talking about, or Beth and Andy and Jimmy were talking about the top 50 web apps. I was going to say desktop, but web apps that everybody's using, or web applications or software that are AI, obviously. This all comes out of a report. Okay, who wants to say the name? Because I always say I pronounce it in AZ. Who wants to say AZ the right way? A16Z the right way?
Andreessen Horowitz.
Horowitz? Okay. I always mess up the back end of that. So they came out of their report. They put out some good studies from time to time, and we can actually see it here on the screen. Before I do that and I get too far in, let me tell you who we have today. You heard some of the voices already. We have Andy, Beth, Jimmy, and I'm Brian. And what I just threw up on screen is kind of the 50 that we're sort of talking about today. And again, this is just a continuation of the conversations, all from the same report, but we knew there was just way too much to discuss in one show. So please, if you're just joining us today, go back and listen to yesterday's show. I wasn't here, but I listened to it and I thought it was phenomenal. There was just a lot of really cool insights and different things that everybody was sharing from the crew. And today, hopefully, we'll do more of the same. So I don't know, Jimmy, I think almost like the conversation here is maybe you want to start us off from what we were just saying before we went live about the buckets here. And I'll leave this up on the screen as you sort of talk about it. And obviously we're going to dig into different ones of these names and stuff.
Sure. When reviewing all these top 50, when they're presented like this, it looks like there's a multitude of different types of apps they could be. But when you list them alphabetically, you notice that there is very slight variations. Like there's almost 10 that are all a variation of chat, right? And that's one of the buckets, right? One of the buckets is just chatbots. There's just tons of different chatbots on there, and you can see like ChatGPT and things like that are definitely in as an offering in that top 50. The next one seems to be just image manipulation, all photo editing, image editing, just make your photos look better, make your selfies look better. And then there's some stuff on that. It's like the rate my photo kind of stuff going on there. And then finally is the helper apps is basically, hey, I need this, I need you to read this math problem for me. Or I need an actual answer that's verified. It's all the homework helper apps. So those are the kind of buckets that I saw in there. I don't know if anyone else saw anything else, but that's pretty much it. The major one for me was the photo editing, lots of image manipulation, and all the chat stuff. That seems to be the other big, the largest of the three buckets. Yeah,
I didn't count, but would you guys say that the photo was the biggest bucket? I think it is.
That's the one I think.
And if you add in like emojis or like just one-off, like add emojis to your WhatsApp or something like, and that's not photo manipulation, but if you just kind of put those two together, I think you might even be over 50%. I didn't count them, but I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess if you called it social media image manipulation, then that would encompass a great.
That would be a sub bucket.
Yeah.
I thought that there were two that were really interesting that are in this kind of thing, but with a very different purpose. Right. And that was Umax and Riz. And Umax and Riz, like the rest of them are like, hey, you took a photo, manipulate it. Right. Like we can make you look all these kinds of ways. And there may have been a third one, but Umax and Riz are very much about like your wingman to make you. Umax is we can give you feedback on how you can look hot. We'll score you on your selfie, and then we'll give you information about what you need to do to get to hot. And Riz is like is it Cyrano de Bergerac? It's like the little voice in your ear that's like, okay, this is what you should say in your dating chat, in your like. And I thought those were just kind of interesting, right? I mean, there's a ton of like, I can help you with your math homework, but in the top 50, there was not like all I do is I'm totally involved in making sure that you are as hot as possible and that you sound as good in your like, hey, let's chat a little bit.
Can we talk about Riz just for a second? Because I was talking to Jimmy about this beforehand. Number one, no app has made me so thankful to be way outside of the dating arena because I was like, oh my God. I can pull it up on screen here. Listen, okay. It's look, it made the top 50. So it is what it is. Now, I think it made the top 50 because they actually did, or maybe that UMax when you were talking about, I didn't see that one as much. But maybe they, the founders, the Trend It, right? This company has stumbled upon something that actually a lot of Gen Zers, Gen Alphas, Gen whatevers are really actually looking for, which is, hey, help me out in my chats back and forth with somebody I might have a crush on, or I might want to hook up with, or whatever the case is. Okay, the first thing that stuck out to me, this is going to be way too small for you guys, but this is what it says. I'm not making this up. Now, the idea of Riz is that you have to import your chat so that it can help you with AI and where to go next. And I just thought it was hilarious that this was the example. But if you look up at this top box, this is like a chat thing. It says, hi, do you come from a family of bakers? And you can already tell where this is going south. And then the girl says, I'm assuming it's a girl. I should. Okay. The other person says, haha, what makes you say that? Ask that. Because you're a cutie pie. That's what it says. And then, of course, immediately, I know, Andy, you're already thinking like, this has got me hooked. Immediately, the girl or guy is like, oh my God, thank you so much. She's totally into this now. Like, this has hooked her. And now she's like, by the way, I do have a family of bakers. I thought you recognized me. So like the idea that this was I don't want to get too long on this, but okay. Number one, it was so cheesy. And I was like, this is what they're putting out there as like their examples. That should tell you something. But number two, if you look at their, like right off the bat, it looks like, oh my God, 70,000 and 4.6. Wow, this must be great. Yeah, it's gamed, guys, because if you go just back,
one star.
Beth, it goes on forever, right? And what it is a lot of people saying, generally speaking here, they took my money and nothing works. It's just, it's been bad. I mean, there is a lot of it. But like I said, what I think is the more interesting, well, maybe stay away from Riz. That would be my suggestion there, because they definitely look like they are not necessarily on the up and up. However, to your point, Beth, interesting. And also they've clearly stumbled upon something that people probably could feel like they could use. I love your Cyrano de Bergerac example, which is that I think anybody would feel like, hey, if I could have an AI companion that help me feel more confident, God knows if I had to jump back into the dating world, I would be completely awkward and out of touch and all those things. And I would probably also be looking for something that could help me navigate that after being out of the dating world for 20 plus years. Right. So I totally get it. And obviously for young kids too, and anybody in between. So just wanted to bring that up because Riz made me laugh. It was one of the last ones I looked at. And since you mentioned it, Beth,
yeah. Well, let me add that Cyrano de Bergerac is this sophisticated, courtly, Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder. It's horrible to imagine having a smarmy dope who's going to have you say things that are just really patently ridiculous. That's the worry there. But my guess is that they're benefiting from, one, a great name, right? Because that's a term of full knowledge in the young. The people this is addressed to really are, late grade school, high school. Once you get to college, I doubt you're using Riz, but maybe some of the less experienced intersocial persons there are using it. Anyway, it makes me laugh. But the principle of it, training an AI assistant on banter and interaction with the opposite sex, if it really had some science and substance behind it. But the example that you provided, Brian, makes me doubt that seriously.
And I can't read the other two that are on there. So, like, I will just tell you that some of the that's the Leonardo da Vinci one that you guys can go look at on your own. I'm not bringing it up on this. It's not family friendly content. But the example they have on there is somebody who's 29. And I kind of agree with you, Andy. I don't think there's anybody 29 using this app or trying to use this app. This is for middle school, high schoolers, maybe something like that. I don't even know. My daughter is in that age range. I mean, 13. I don't even know that Riz is still even a word. Like anything with the words, they're like here today, gone tomorrow, and they immediately, been replaced with something else. So I would even think naming an app Riz, you're
wait. But one of the things that I thought was important about this to bring up is because on the web show, we were looking at, there were like a series of like, this is a spicy chat, this is a way to engage with that, and that was like meet your loneliness with this AI, right? And the mobile apps seem to be meet your loneliness because we're going to fix it for you and help you actually meet someone. Now, yes, Riz is very bad at that. We know ChatGPT was #1. Like, go make a Riz custom GPT for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, and just like run that chat back and forth. But like that kind of thing. I thought it was interesting that the mobile is still sort of perceived a little bit like you're carrying your phone in the world, or you're engaged in the world with your cell phone, and the computers seem to be much more like, I'm alone in a room and I would like some companionship in this context.
Right.
Junie.
I think there's something I wanted to highlight, though, is it's definitely the perception of help, as we can see. I don't know how much help it'll actually provide, but Riz is an example of a I don't know if it's a trend, but it is an example of what can be done when you throw a bunch of resources towards doing a cash grab style app or endeavor. And I'm sure it is a huge data mining opportunity for them as well, because you'll be amazed how much information is revealed in a chat, and you're obviously giving them access to that. So it's something to keep in mind about your own data privacy and things like that. But it is an example of, you're probably going to see a lot more of these, because you can simply have a campaign that's either going to just flood something like TikTok with random content that just shows your app in use, right, overlaid with some background imagery or someone playing a video game. If you've seen them, you know what I'm talking about. And that'll flood TikTok, and then you have mobile phone banks that are simply signing up and leaving user reviews and things like that. And that's the only way you can get a 4.6 when all the latest reviews are 1, 1, 1, 1, because this not helping me at all.
Yeah, definitely some AI work, chatbots at work there getting, or bots, I should say, not chatbots, but bots at work getting that, I'm sure that 66,000 views or whatever the hell it said on there. I think we talked about this actually in the show, but I do see some future with these apps, definitely, versus a desktop or a web app, because it is mobile, like you were saying, Beth, where maybe it's embedded in these dating apps. I'm not quite sure, but this idea of these AIs, like there's this knowledge base on you as a person. It could be your religious stance. It could be your sexuality. It could be whatever, right? Things that matter to you, that maybe whatever. And then this idea that you're like swiping left or right or whatever the hell, which way it is supposed to be for yes. But then there's like sort of a middle ground where the two humans aren't interacting. And now their AIs are just hashing it out in a conversation back and forth. And they're like, hey, what about this? And the person's like, listen, this is how I feel about that. I'm not super religious, whatever. Like, good to know, whatever. And then like basically like a day later or something, or probably not because it's AI, 30 seconds later or something, it comes back and goes, hey, you're actually a pretty good match for this person. We've hashed it out, their AI and our AI assistant. We've come to the determination you guys are actually a pretty decent match. It's not going to blow up on the first date when you find out that the first person wants kids tomorrow and you don't want kids at all, right? These kind of things or whatever. So that's kind of built into like these dating apps now, like what are your preferences and things. But I think it's about to just like rocket fuel on this once these knowledge bases are grown and stuff, and you're just going to have AIs, because humans are going to be like, I don't need to have that real-time conversation. I'll just get involved when it makes sense for me to get involved, and otherwise let the AIs handle it. I don't need to be there, So it's just
well, yeah. I mean, it's just going to be an AI or digital version of matchmakers, or when your best friends do a little bit of cyber stalking for you, background checks, those kinds of things. Just all of that's going to be wrapped up into your AI dating agent.
For
So
sure.
actually, Andy like invented that several months ago. But what were you thinking about, Andy?
Well, I'm thinking about in the top 10, and the top 10, you have ChatGPT and Microsoft Edge. That app, this is really giving you AI access to the to the OpenAI system as well. So those are real general kind of things, and I'm sure that for mobile users, people are using it in the ways that we do. Interestingly, a really general all-purpose search thing, a tool, Perplexity, that I use, in favor over ChatGPT for those purposes, is at number 50 when ChatGPT is at number 1. So I was surprised to see that. Why isn't Perplexity picking up on the mobile device as much as it is on the web apps, where it has a much higher ranking? But what I wanted to point out is that in the top 10, there are 2 that are in the homework space. The number 3 position is Photomath, and Photomath is a Google product. So you've got OpenAI in number 1, you've got Microsoft in number 2, and you have a Google product in number 3. The third most used app on the mobile device that's AI driven is Photomath. So I think what's unique about it is that it uses the Google Lens capability to look at a complex equation and then give you a step-by-step explanation of what it's about. There's another math-based one in the 28 spot, right? Number 28, Quanda. Quanda is probably they claim to be the number 1 math tool out there, yeah, so you can see similar here. You can see some math equations there, and you can use your camera with that one as well. But Brainly is a more general purpose AI kind of tutor and homework helper. So in the classifications that you started out with, you listed homework as the last, but actually 2 of the top 10 are being used more than most any other mobile apps out there in AI to solve homework problems.
And Question AI also is another one from there. It's not in the top 10. I'd have to look and see where it was, but I threw in a geometry, because that's what my daughter is in. And so I literally just grabbed a geometry question off the web and screenshotted it and threw it in. We hear Ethan Mahler talk about this a lot, about the idea of there's a lot of studies coming out in education right now talking about how helpful AI is with homework and doing work, and do students actually do better on tests. And there's a lot more that's going to come out in this space. But this is just another example. What I don't love about this one, at least in this very, I didn't pay for anything, this is just the basic whatever, is that it's actually giving the answer. It walks you through it. So I could see how something like this would be helpful for my daughter if she's looking at, or any students looking at this problem on the screen and going like, well, I don't even know where to start. That's different, right? Because then she's like, there's a void there for her. Like either she missed it in class or the teacher didn't explain it, but she's looking at this, as a lot of kids do, and they go like, I'm not even sure where to start. Okay, well then something like this is actually be really helpful. It goes from the small cube, and we're just following volume in this case if you're not looking at us. And it tells you how to get the small cube and then count the number of small cubes there, and then multiply that by the number of small cubes for an answer of 1,000 centimeters cubed on there. But what Ethan Malik has talked about, and a lot of these other apps are definitely going to have to do a good job with, is being that tutor, where he's talked about, the solution really is don't give the answer, help the student walk through as a tutor would, to say, let me help you get a better understanding and concept of how this works so that you can then go ahead and do it yourself. So I think it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of these apps that just do it for the students, and whether it's using Google Lens or any of these others, it's going to be so easy. Even today, it's easy for any middle school, high school student to just snap a picture and get reasonably accurate. It depends with math, right? Whether these have been trained a little bit more. And that's the other question, is have these other apps, have they like fine-tuned their model with math, which is typically what you have to do in order to get better math answers. So I don't know that side of it, or they're just selling us a bill of goods and saying, oh, it's good at math, and it may just be ChatGPT out of the box. That part I'm not sure of. So anyway, it's going to be interesting in the education space is what I wanted to say. Is there's going to be more of these apps, but what I'll be looking for is more of the Conmigos, the ones that work with my daughter as being a parent, obviously, and helps her think about what it is, breaks it down, does not directly give her the answer right off the bat, and ask follow-up questions to her to say, well, what do you think the next step is in this process? And I think that could be very, very helpful. But if you're just going to give them the answers, obviously there's really not a whole lot of value to me in that, you know?
Yeah, I find that really encouraging, because I had mentioned in the other show yesterday that when we were reviewing the web apps that were in the educational space, they lacked that context. They lacked that tutoring feature. But it seems that there are more of those options on the mobile side of things. So that's encouraging. That maybe we'll see more of that kind of features added to the web version.
Right. And I'm going to say the same thing that I said about dating. ChatGPT, you can create a custom GPT that tutors your kid the way that you want your kid to be tutored. And Wolfram, Wolf with a RAM on the end of that, is the magic. Like, I want you to do math with me. I want you to be using that, because Wolfram Alpha is a math analytic statistical company, I guess. But within AI, it is the name of a function that calls those abilities. Otherwise, it in order to do it correctly, it needs to build a Python script and run it. But like all of these, Conmigo was not in this top 50 either, right? And that's the Khan Academy's version of a tutor that will tutor your kid in a way that will help the kid learn actually what they need to learn for the end of it. Yeah, I think that's I thought this was a really interesting like 50 list. Did anyone else feel like this was it's like this was like less? I thought it was interesting that it was less interesting, right, than the web. And I think part of that is because mobile apps are harder to create, right? Anybody can pop up a web wrapper. Any thoughts about that, Andy? Yeah.
So I wanted to mention that there are a number here in a class that is, AI boyfriend, AI girlfriend. That is a slightly different thing than Riz, right? Riz is trying to assist you in the real world interactions, but there is this emerging possibility of people learning social skills in a completely simulated conversation with an AI. And there are a number on this list. I was just glancing through some of them earlier today, and I saw that there was Selena may replace Lana as my girlfriend. Selena was very good looking, and I thought maybe I'd have a conversation with her later. I'm just kidding. But I wanted to go back to the top 10 and say that one of the tools on the top 10 in the number 6 spot after these sort of 5 leaders is Remini, which is a photo enhancer. It's just good. Let's bring up. There we go. Number 6, Remini. I've been around long enough that many of my photos are not high resolution. And what you really want to do is use AI to scale them, right? Bring them into a higher resolution format. Remini does that, and it's an enhancer. So you can see by scrolling that thing across, it really improves the photo without changing the nature of the image. It's not AI to make fantastical the thing. It's just bringing in more detail than actually exists in the initial representation that's in the photograph. So I think that's a cool tool. I'm going to go download that one and start trying to use it against some of my old photos.
I have some family photos that look very similar from like Sicily and places like that look like this photo that we're showing, which is a black and white. I think it'd be really cool to see what it can do with some of those old ones. I have, images, like a lot of us do. I have images from my grandpa and stuff like that of, like Italian heritage and families and stuff from, long before I was born. And giant, very stereotypical giant slabs, are not pies, but big, giant rectangles of pizza, basically from somewhere in New York or Brooklyn, most likely. And I can think of some of those old photos that have been passed around and scanned and digitized, and because of that have probably been uploaded and downloaded. And of course, we know they lose resolution. So it's not even sometimes that the original film was necessarily bad. It might have been a really good black and white film photo, but then through the years it's been passed around, and it's like, well, what version of that did I get? And it could have gone to Google Photos and back down 6 times, can be compressed, could have gone over to Facebook. But by the time it gets to me, I may actually have a much less or a lower resolution version with a lot of artifacts and fuzz in it and stuff like that than maybe the original film one. So it could be really helpful for undoing years of this digital passing around of photos and scanning with low res scanners from back in the early, let's say 2000s, where we were just so glad that it could take any photo and scan them. But now it's not HD, and now we have maybe an AI way to do that without having to start the process all the way over. So I think that's super cool. One quick topic I wanted to bring up to get your guys' opinion on was, we see a lot of apps like this one. I'm gonna bring it up on the screen. Oh, here we go. Like Nova, but not even just Nova. There were several on there. Jimmy, you talked about how this was one big content bucket, which was essentially ChatGPT or essentially Claude right? So like, why do these exist? And so I think if we scroll down here and we look at some of the reviews, you're going to see stuff like this one. It's better UI than it's a better UI for ChatGPT, faster, easier, more convenient. And there's several like that. And I think I don't know, that's kind of where my thought process was on apps like this. Like, because I go to myself like, well, there's a ChatGPT app, there's a Claude app, there's a Perplexity app. Like, what else do I need as somebody who's going in there? Like, I don't find those UIs to be that bad. But are these companies basically just surviving on the idea that they have a prettier user interface?
I think that might be what is keeping them going after Claude and ChatGPT have released their apps. Because remember, they didn't release a mobile app for a very long time, but we saw tons of wrapped or UI front ends for API type calls, and so we've seen tons of chatbots. So it's probably a mixture of there wasn't one, they came out with one, and they either improved or they were good enough to keep those users and attract additional users. And if you notice, those are the testimonials or quotes or reviews that they highlighted on that app or on that page was better UI, better interface, better user experience, all of those kinds of things, because that's
however
that's pushing it.
For an app that's in the number 4 position on their homepage to have all of those testimonials all from March 2023.
Right.
Why? Why is that? So, there's something wrong with that picture. If you're the number 4 mobile app out there, you better have a web team that can do better on your reviews than show something from more than a year ago as your major testimonials. That was a big red flag for me.
I mean, it would definitely be interesting to see what the latest ones are. Anything from the last month or so. But again, it didn't seem to be on the website. I didn't check their app store pages either. But I'm sure you're onto something, Andy.
Yeah. So their UI may have been better than ChatGPT 2. but not in today's day and age. Maybe they're not so great, but they're still in number 4 position.
So is monthly active users public information, or is that self-reported? Because that's how they determined the top 50. That's how Andreessen Horowitz determined the top 50.
Yeah, that information is public in the sense that you can buy it.
Yeah, I mean,
Google, so but then
Apple,
can you buy
data?
Can you buy your position in the thing? Like if you could buy the app? No.
Well,
right.
I mean, if you want to go
I'm just
into how
asking.
mobile apps are gamed, like I mentioned before, there to generate views, likes, and reviews. There are ways to basically purchase a data center of individual or unique mobile devices that can produce all of those kinds of results for you. So that does exist.
They might be scraping things like this too, like from Google Play Store or whatever, 10 million downloads, whatever. And then the reviews are on there. So maybe they're scraping some of that data from like Apple Store or Google Play and places like that as well. Although that's very basic data, I would say. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they're pulling. In fact, that's a good thing you bring up. I think it was face emoji, which is like high up there. Where was that? Number 11. If I remember right with face emoji, it doesn't have any AI in it. It doesn't. Oh, here it is right here. I can pull it up on the screen. I might be missing it, of course, but this is just from the Google Play Store. I couldn't figure out where this had any AI involved, like how you would even define this as an AI app. And the fact that it was on the list, I kind of felt like was a miss because it didn't appear to have any AI. Now we see this a lot. Lots of companies say they're using AI and they're not, but even when you get here in their own about this app, I mean, I'm scanning it quickly, but I don't think they mention AI once. So even the app is not saying, "Hey, we're an AI app," but someone made the top of the list.
Well, I think what's key to point out for this is that this list is supposed to be generative AI. Most systems that have some sort of data analysis or predictive analysis system, that's all machine learning, which all is under the umbrella of AI. But yeah, this list is supposed to be generative AI. And the fact that they're not highlighting, we can only hope that it's the lack of their marketing team for not hitting that keyword, that SEO search or something along those lines.
Does it generate an emoji face?
That's what I thought. I will go back and look. Nope. It looks like it's literally you have 5,000 plus emoji, cute stickers, emoticon, GIF, cool fonts, stylish themes to pick from is what it looks like to me. And it's like text has never been more fun. My daughter might be using this now. Like, I'm not saying it's not a great app. It might be super fun. Like she's always in text and chat groups and chat rooms with her friends and whatever else. That to me, that's why Snapchat is still so popular, is because of all the AI add-on stuff like that. By the way, why isn't it? I mean, Snapchat almost feels like it should be a Gen AI at this point app.
Yeah. So when you showed the screen, the top, like if you like this, you might like that, was an AI keyboard, right? Face emoji, AI emoji keyboard. Maybe this is an Andreessen Horowitz mistake. Maybe that's the AI thing. I am speculating here. I'm sure Andreessen Horowitz proofed this and knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, and all the face emoji, as you always say, Beth. One of my favorite lines from you is like, "All right, face emoji people, don't come at me."
Well, in the background, I was just checking to see where Andreessen Horowitz got their information, and they got it from Sensor Tower, a leading mobile apps analytics platform.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Perfect. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, that was just one. I didn't, after about seeing the 9th or 10th or 11th or 12th photo editor or whatever. Now, I will say one photo editor for me that stood out, and I guess it is fairly big, is Photo Room. Had you guys already heard of Photo Room? It seems to be, when I look at here, I'll even pull it up on the screen. This is just me giving a quick overview. Like, yes, it has the background removers and AI, AI retouch. Everything's AI. Okay. Some of this stuff existed before AI. But it seemed to be at a little at a higher level than some of the other apps out there. I didn't do a lot of research into this one, but I was just curious if you guys had ever heard of Photo Room, because it just looked to me like an actual app you would use, not just for, oh, my friends, but it actually looked like the type of app. In fact, it was the only one that looked like the type of app you would use if you were an ad agency or you're doing any marketing or you're actually working for a company. It's the closest thing I saw to like a Canva. It's not Canva, but I'm saying like, as in you would use it for business, where you might have a photo. You know, if I'm a small business and I make candles, that's what's on the screen right now, and I want to put that candle in multiple different locations without ever leaving my house, that might be something I actually do. Now, I don't personally think I would use it from the app, but that doesn't mean there aren't lots of people who do and run their business mobile sort of first or whatever. It wouldn't be my first choice to do it from my phone. But anyway, I'm just curious if you guys had heard of that one, because it stood out as in terms of just the design of the website and the quality of what it looked like. It may not be any better or worse. Just curious. And it's like $89 a year, which if you think about it, compared to like Adobe, Adobe One Kenobi, Adobe, that $90. And if it gives you some of these, like, you know, Gen AI generated type stuff that you might need for business, that's obviously going to be a lot cheaper than some of the bigger names I like the Adobes and stuff like that. Maybe even be cheaper than things like Canva too, honestly. So just something to point out from the list.
It's just barely cheaper than Canva. And like I'm confused what you're doing, that you're editing photos on your phone. Right? Like, is that because you have some sort of we're in the field kind of thing, and so we've set up some templates and now we're just dragging the photos into that? That makes sense to me. But I don't think it's your only thing. Jimmy's gonna push back on that.
No. I was actually gonna expand upon what you're saying. Yes, it seems that with more and more capabilities and just straight up more powerful hardware and storage capabilities and the camera capabilities on mobile devices, you're going to see more in the field and quick turnaround, right? So one of the things I talked about in, you know, an episode long ago in a galaxy far away was that Apple and Final Cut had come out with updated versions of their software to work on mobile devices more efficiently and better. And then there's always been other apps that allow you to link those, so you have like a multi-camera shoot. And it was always much better in my head to have a bag full of mobile phones than giant, $30,000 cameras or whatnot, and so that you could go shoot, edit, live edit, whatever you needed to do on site, do the shoot day, and quickly turn around. So if you had a similar situation, but it was on, like, let's say product photo shoots, right? Let's say you're doing the still photo of a larger campaign. Let's say Nike's doing a photo shoot or something like that, right? They've got their athletes in there wearing their gear. They're filming their commercial, things like that, while you can be using your mobile device to get your stills, do a quick edit. Here's a coming soon. This is all, I think, more geared to the marketing side of things, just quick turnaround. I think it was... who was it? Was it Ryan Reynolds who, when he was launching Mint, or he was connecting with Mint Mobile, that he had like fast advertising, right? Where it's find out what the latest thing is, quickly turn around a product and send it out there for your marketing team. So I can imagine that's how this kind of thing would be used. Yeah.
I can see that too, but if you're, for me, if your thing is going to be looked at in HD, I mean, I have the biggest iPhone possible. I still want to see it on a bigger screen, right?
Well,
Like
you can shoot it 4K.
No, I know you can, but then you're editing in 11 inches, right? Or whatever the size of the iPhone is.
That
like
becomes more of a user kind of thing. Like I will admit, I will I'm not the biggest mobile user. I can't type without looking. You know, I have to hunt and peck for the keyboard. I can't type instantaneously fast. I can't manipulate the screen with super high clarity or high accuracy. But there are people who are 20 years younger than me who absolutely have grown up with that talent or that skill that they have cultivated in their decades. So that's what I imagine where this is coming from. You know, much sharper eyes than my own will manipulate the screen. And you never know. I mean, this would be just as good on an iPad, right? Or a tablet.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as the hardware matches your specs, you can do your 4K through your tablet camera. Then you just have all of that screen that you're working with. And there's been a lot of push for creative apps, both on like Apple, Microsoft, you know, Android, where you're drawing directly on the screen and you're manipulating everything on the screen. So, I mean, I could see the trend, and you know, the younger you are, you probably have a better time of doing it.
It's true.
Yeah, I think, you know, I was just poking around the site. This is, again, just Photo Room, not to belabor just their company. Like you said, this is more about the general idea of this. But it definitely does seem like not always of the moment, but it definitely, you know, they talk about working with other people, having a brand template, things like that. You know, I'm looking at one right now on the screen where it's like food delivery. I don't know, maybe food delivery, but if you were doing food reviews, yep, 1,000%, because you're going to snap the photo of your plate probably, and you might want to mock that up a certain way to go out on your social media campaign. So that's more of that instantaneous turnaround. Or if you ever watched the show Emily in Paris, that's on Netflix, you know, the lead character works for an agency, and a lot of what she does tends to be like fast idea turnaround stuff. Of course, it's just a show, but I could see it being used in a situation like that, where you might be out with the client and you're spitballing ideas. And if there's an app and a way for you to sort of mock something up quickly to show a concept, you know, Jimmy, we've talked about this, like you've talked about this, like the same idea with storyboarding and all these other things when it gets into other forms of media. So I could see it. I mean, for sure. I'm with you guys. Like, if it's something that's not deliverable today and it's not while I'm in the field, there's almost zero chance of me mocking that up on my phone and sending it. But again, to your point, Jimmy, like that also just could be a generational thing, because I would just prefer to come back to a computer where I can look at it all nice and pretty. And but that's the way I've also been doing it forever. So like that's my happy place. You know, I don't know. I would have to ask my daughter. She may just be like, yeah, it'd just be easier for me to do on my phone. It's possible, you know. Okay, so as we're sort of like wrapping things up here, I don't think we've left any out that I know. We either you guys have mentioned or I've mentioned all the ones that I sort of had queued up or whatever. We've talked about the different areas. The one we didn't mention, it wasn't like there was a lot of them, but translation was definitely in there. Sometimes it was also wrapped into some of the other chat bots. So I guess maybe it's a sub bucket, as you were saying, Beth, of chatting is sort of the instant translation. Again, you got to look and say, like, I don't know, is there really a mode around that? I don't think there's a mode around a lot of these. But if they, you know, have a user base right now and people are used to using them, you know, what would it take for them to move off of Nova back over to just plain old ChatGPT? If they feel like the price point is right and it always works for them and they just like the UX, probably a lot. If it's $9 a month or something like that, it's probably not a high enough cost for them to feel the need to move. So it'll be interesting to see how long all these stick around, because as we look at it, you know, there's other options. Obviously, the original options are there, so it's interesting to see. Okay, so any last thoughts on that before we wrap it up?
Just one really quick one. Just expanding on what you're saying, I'm waiting for the basic features of these various apps being absorbed into the included camera app on your phone. Because once it does that, then we might see some losses on those sides, or maybe they'll just buy them whole hog and integrate them directly into your local app. I think that might be an option as well.
And
well, that photo math thing is in Apple's next release, right? That
Yep.
was one of the things that that it like highlighted in that in their big demo where using AI was that you're going to be able to do math. You're going to be able to write math on your screen, and Apple would recognize that and give you an answer.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was just about to say that because that'll come in next week. We'll definitely talk about it. That's next Tuesday, correct? Apple, the 10th is when Apple's doing their next. They do it every September basically, and so we'll hear actually from Apple on just how much AI is going to be released into the models. It's all kind of speculation, and will it be the highest level models and stuff.
They paused some AI. Did they just pause the upgrade of Siri?
Uh,
We'll know next week, but I'm confused about what is happening next week and what is not until October.
Yeah, good question. Apple iPhone 16. I'm just gonna put that on the release date to see if I can get the date on it. It's almost always on a Tuesday, so I think it's next Tuesday. But anyway, we will definitely talk about it. Either it'll be after the show, so we'll talk about it next Wednesday on our news day. It'll definitely be one of the top topics that come up. But anyway, you guys were just talking about it, and Jimmy, what comes out, what's part of what Apple's going to build? Will it just be integrated directly into the phone, so on and so forth? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of these apps sort of get natively integrated, just like Google has been doing with Android for a long time. Even though I'm an iPhone user, I fully recognize that Android usually has the cool stuff first. So excuse me. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Guys, tomorrow we do have the news for this week. So tomorrow we'll be talking about everything that we think has been interesting over the last couple of days. Maybe we'll have something on Apple. We'll get that all cleared up once we figure it out and what they said is going to be delayed and all that. Thursday, we're talking about starts with a C.
Cursor.
Cursor. Thank you, Beth. I was like, I could pull up the thumbnail. Cursor.
Everybody's talking about Cursor. We are too.
Coding wave that we've seen, the AI coding wave. Cursor is one of those tools. It's gotten a lot of play in the news. So we're going to be talking about that on Thursday. And then Friday is our 2-week wrap-up show where we talk about all the stuff from the last couple of weeks. So some of these apps or the web apps from yesterday may come up in that conversation. You'll just have to come back and hang out with us. So thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully these last 2 days were super, super helpful. Really, I hope you walk away thinking about a couple either web apps or mobile apps that you want to go play with, which would be super cool, right? If you learn something along the way. So we'll leave it there, guys. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow for all the news. Until then.
Aloha.